vivid memories.
Yes, we grew up by Our Lady of the Angels, so my mother could not afford to get us in there, and the tuition was so cheap, but we couldn't afford it. There were too many of us. So I had to go to the public school right by my house. My older brothers went to the public schools where we originally lived. Then I went to Reservoir Public School. It was right in the neighborhood. I could walk from my house. I get there in 5 minutes, and we didn't have to pay. And none of us went to a private school. None of us.
Did you do well in school?
I did pretty good. I was a little mischievous, and I didn't like to do homework, so I was not. I would say I wasn't the best, but my mother couldn't speak English. I only had my sister to help me, but
did you speak English
I spoke
you went
Italian.
to school?
I spoke Italian then, but I did learn English. But my mother learned fast, but she wasn't good in English. My father learned a little faster, but then my mother caught up and then passed up my father because she got into business, and she mainly associated with American people. Mm-hmm. She, on the weekends, and her friends, they spoke Italian, but to us, they mainly spoke to us in English, only because my dad wanted us to learn. We knew, and when he got mad, he yelled at us in Italian, but most of the time he spoke English.
I know you don't remember World War II, but do you remember stories about conditions for Italians in World War II?
Oh, sure. Yeah, my dad, when we were here, it really didn't affect us, but we knew that some people were getting incarcerated. But they would have had to incarcerate my brother George in World War II, and my brother George, a World War II hero in the Philippines, was in the Philippines, and he landed in Leyte, and he was missing, presumably dead, probably dead. And they went to my mother. They said, so my mother's like hysterical. My father's sobbing. The whole family. I wasn't there, but I heard the stories, and they told me that my brother George was missing. I was okay. So what ended up happening? They said, I don't know. Months later, they called the military calls, the Army calls and says, Miss Jaconetti, we found your son. He's alive, and he's in Leyte in a hospital in the Philippines. He was wounded 3 times. He got all kinds of medals. He said they wiped out almost his whole platoon out there, but he's alive. Mm. So he ended up. A Jewish doctor there who was attending him said, "Sir, you've seen enough action. We're sending you home. You've gone through hell." And they sent him home.
Mm-hmm. And this would have been, what, 1943?
45. I think 44, 45. But
and you were just
I was little, and I didn't know. I vaguely, they tell you the story, so that's what you remember. But so he came home. He came home from there, and how could you ever think that they're going to try and incarcerate, or they're going to try to lock up any people with families like that? Yeah. And they do patriot. Never did anything against our government here. My father was fanatical about that, and my brother George, coming home as a war hero. I mean, he came home with every award you get. You got the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, all the and actually in invasions. And I was in the military too, and I never met a person that was in hand-to-hand combat with the Japanese. I never met a person except him.
Now, did your other brothers, were they in the service too?
All of them except one.
So that's...
So that 5 of them, well, my brother George, myself, my brother Gigi, my brother Nate, and my brother, 5.
Yeah, well, obviously you would come later.
Later.
The others were all in World War II? Or
no. Right after that, my brother Nate went to fight in the Korean War. So you're gonna label us as not
No,
honorable.
for every
Then my other
generation.
brother went to Panama. My brother after that went to Germany, and then I ended up going to the Orient on the demilitarized zone. So we're all families that they didn't miss any of us. They caught everybody.
Okay, so now you went to high school. Where? And
Well, I went to Orr Grammar School, and just before I was going into high school, I think it was about almost the same time, my mother died, and I had to now deal with that, and her and I were buddies, and we did everything together, and I woke up one morning and everybody's crying. I says, Ma died. I says, don't tell me that. I was angry. Don't tell me that. My dad. I says, why would you say that? She's gone. I said, how could she die? She says, I said, we've got to make the bread. It's still rising on the stove. And then he started crying. I says, because I said, how could she leave? We weren't finished making the bread, but she did. And then from there, then my sister had to take over because she promised that she would help me out whenever she did. She did. And then I went into Austin High School. And I was there. I stayed in there for 4 years, and it was tough for me at first because I was a little angry because everybody had mothers. I didn't have a mother, and I was not acting right, so they had to kind of make sure I went straight path. And then the other thing in high school, I got big and strong, and I said I have to channel and make sure that I watch my anger because I was big and bigger than anybody in the family. So I calmed down, and then I ended up graduating from Austin High School, and then I went into the service when I was 19.
were you involved in sports?
Well, I went to, I've been on most of the teams that I tried out for the football team and I made it because I had gained 30 pounds and the coach says, gain some weight and you'll get on. So, but then after that, I just I didn't feel like I didn't have it in me at that time. And so I went and got a little job because first of all, I was there with my dad. My dad, I never made a lot of money anyway, and helped out. So I drove a delivery truck every other day in my spare time. But I didn't pursue anything in my high school years because God knows in my younger years I was a pretty good athlete. I raced in the silver skates and city championships and speed skating every year. But in high school, I didn't have that. But I won the city championship a couple of times, and I raced silver skates, and I was recruited by every single skating club in the old days. But the last one I can remember when my dad was there, and the one guy says, "Mr. Jaconetti, could you sign this thing?" My dad says, "I don't sign nothing unless they know a lot about it." I said, "Don't sign it right now." They wanted me to get in one of the clubs. And I raced
This was ice skating?
Ice skate. I raced some, and for a little Italian kid from the inner city, that was unheard of. No, not many of us went on to do that,
So you must have felt pretty good about yourself.
Oh, I did. That helped me a lot. My brother George was the one that got me started with speed skating because after he got home from the service, he skated with, was it just before